All right. YouTube says that I am live. I have a treat for Candy the Wonder Pup. She'll no doubt come up and get it. There you go. Be a good girl. Come on. There you go. Hopefully that'll keep her quiet for at least a little bit. It's Gordon on Twitter, Gordy Canuck, on Reddit, Grow a Set. And before I get rolling, made myself a few little bullet points so I can stay somewhat on track. Disclaimer right up front, nothing in this video is to be construed as medical advice. Follow all public health guidelines, etc., etc. I'm not an expert. So anything I say, verify, fact check, do your due diligence. And as always, if you like the video, I appreciate the likes. Gives me my little dopamine rush. I guess that's what it is, dopamine. Subscribe, share, and the chat is on. So if you're watching, if you're live, and you want to throw up a comment, I really appreciate the engagement, the back and forth. So getting right into it. Where were you a year ago today, or give or take? Because it was a year ago today, we're now January the 29th, 2:17 a.m., Sunday. So January 29th, this was the day that the convoy descended on Ottawa. Now, for a week or so prior to that, convoys had been rolling from east, west, north. Everyone was converging on Ottawa. And I included a link down below if you want to get a feeling of what it was like. And this is true, at least for me. There's a video down below with a montage of video clips of the convoy in varying locations, I'm assuming, as it rolled. And the music in the background is Twisted Sister, We're Not Gonna Take It. And it is drone footage, seeing mile after mile of trucks piling in, seeing the people on the side, people at the sides of at the side of roads, cheering, kids, firefighters, construction workers, every walk of life. Oh man, does that ever give you a warm feeling? I myself, a year ago, I was at the overpass in my local town. I was one of those horde. By my recollection, I remember I did a count at the time, and I put the number somewhere around on the specific overpass that I was on, 60 to 70 odd people. There are two overpasses on the 401 that cut through my town, and the one I was on is the main overpass that has access to the highway. Then there's another one that doesn't have any access. It's more of a secondary road. And I had some friends who I found out later, they said, oh, we went to the other overpass. And they said that there were 50, 60 people there. So there were 100 or so in this little tiny town that I live in who had gone out to the overpass to wave Canadian flags. I'm not a big fan of profanity, but I certainly understand the sentiment behind the F Trudeau signs. And, if you think back to where we were in January in 2022, at this time, the Vax passport was still going. Kids were going to school and were being forced to suck air through a mask for 6+ hours a day. There were still protocols. It was called the Reopening Ontario Act, which I jokingly and not so jokingly thought should have been called the Keeping Ontario Closed Act. But I couldn't go and have I couldn't even sit down to have a coffee in a local coffee shop without violating Canadian law. Well, without the proprietors of the establishment or the people working there violating Canadian law and asking me for my personal and private medical information, which is, and so many people had lost their jobs over their refusal to take a medical a jab. You had to take the jab. I'm trying to be careful with my language. And so, but why was there so much support for it? And I would submit that it's because of all these, all these different things. And then finally, God bless Canada's truckers. Finally, we had a catalyst. Finally, there was something around which everyone could rally. And what had happened was the trucking industry, Canada had brought in legislation that was going to mandate that truckers coming back into Canada, that they have to show proof. And that was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back in terms of the truckers. But they weren't the only industry. I mean, if you work any government employee, healthcare, law enforcement, firefighters, so much, just about any public employee was often forced to take the jab or lose their job. Countless industries had brought in the same type of mandates. One that just comes immediately to mind is Chapman's Ice Cream. They mandated that all their employees were required to take the jab. There were churches that were not allowing their congregants to come and worship unless they showed proof of the jab. But it was, there was lots of opposition to this, but there wasn't a focal point. There wasn't a catalyst. And the catalyst, the truckers provided that catalyst, because I don't know how it got organized. I don't know what machinations were involved, but however it happened, and all of a sudden convoys were organized, starting all the way out in Vancouver and west, coming eastward. They would be joined in each province, getting bigger and bigger, the same coming from the East Coast, from varying points in Ontario, and all converging on Ottawa. And again, now I myself, sadly, I wish I had gone, but I didn't. I didn't. It's about I would guess a 3 to 4 hour drive for me to Ottawa. So it would not have been, that much of an inconvenience. It wasn't that far a distance. It just one of those things where I wish I had gone. I'm grateful for the fact that I know a number of people who went. Ash, someone I know from my own town, family of 5, mom, dad, and 3 kids. They went down to Ottawa. There's a friend of mine, Jack, a retired firefighter, who I think he's an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Ottawa. He was going down pretty much daily. And Alex, who's a pastor up in Peterborough, was going down. And wonders of technology, I almost felt like I was there, because I was able to watch their video feeds and to see what was going on. And I mean, we all saw the videos. We all saw the moms and kids dancing around in a circle while the music "We Are the World" played in the background. It was uplifting, and it brought to mind, for me anyway, Lord of the Rings. If you're a fan of that movie franchise, I only ever saw the first 3. I don't know if there have been more or not, but anyway, the Lord of the Rings, the last of the 3, the Return of the King, where Aragorn and all the men of the West have gathered outside the gates of Mordor, and they're fighting against Saruman's armies or whatever. I don't know. I don't geek out that far. A little bit on stuff like Lord of the Rings, but anyway, as they're fighting the battle, all of a sudden those big dragon-like creatures, the Nazgûl or whatever they're called, come flying in, and then they look up and the eagles have arrived. And one of Merry or Pip says, look, the eagles are coming. The truckers are coming. The truckers are coming. And God bless the truckers in this country. You talk about a hardworking industry that keep Canada moving. I mean, everything on your shelf. When you go to the grocery store, basically everything in there came in on a truck. That's how it got into that store. Just about anything you buy in this country, even if it came from overseas, it comes on a ship in a sea container, and then it's loaded onto a train, and then it gets to your local store or your Amazon warehouse. It's a whole nother issue. Uh, truck, lifeblood of this country. And so God bless them for finally, and they galvanized. And so now, instead of just little protests here, there, and everywhere, everyone was in Ottawa. I don't know how many people were there. I know it numbered in the thousands, probably 10,000 plus people, all descending on Ottawa. It would swell on the weekends. It lasted a month, and the media tried to frame it as echoing the propaganda being put out by Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh. The media tried to portray it as an illegal occupation, and there was nothing illegal about it. It's public grounds, and Canadians have the right to protest. It's in our laws, it's in our Constitution. And proof of the fact that it was legal was that in order to end it, Justin Trudeau's Liberal government had to invoke what used to be called the War Measures Act, rewritten and renamed the Emergency Measures Act. And what the Emergency Measures Act basically did is it's a form of martial law. It basically says, notwithstanding the fact that this is legal, we're declaring it illegal. If it was illegal on its face, if it was illegal, there would have been no need to invoke the Emergency Measures Act. By invoking that draconian piece of legislation, Justin Trudeau legitimized the protest and showed the world that it was a 100% legal protest, only made illegal because the Emergency Measures Act basically shreds the Constitution, shreds the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and removes Canadians' constitutional legal rights to protest. The street, Wellington Street, which runs in front of Parliament Hill. I don't know whether that's east, west, north, south, doesn't matter. But that street right in front of Parliament Hill, protesters had worked with local authorities, police and fire department, and ensured that a lane of traffic was always open so that emergency vehicles could get by. There, it was classically Canadian. We're so polite. So there's no way it was illegal. And we also found out that even the propaganda during the emergency, when the inquiry into the invocation of the Emergency Measures Act, it was brought out that at least one of the individuals waving a racist banner or flag was an employee of an agency that's hired by by Canada's Liberal government. Now, I know there are some who suggested that Canadians can have a very cynical bent, and I'm guilty of that from time to time. Absolutely. Look at my commentary with respect to this Project Veritas. I tend to try and look at everything sideways. I try and be as circumspect as I can. But so there were suggestions from some quarters that the entire protest, that it was so-called controlled opposition, that that it was an orchestrated event. And I think there may very well be some merit to that argument. However, I think if that was the case, it blew up beyond that. People began to, just ordinary simple individuals like myself gravitated toward it simply because we're fed up. We're fed up with the contradictions. Well, this business can open, but this business can't. Well, they do the same thing. Yeah, but we like that business. I don't know. I mean, there was a hair salon in St. Catharines, Ontario, and that was mandated. They had to be closed, but the motion picture television industry was allowed to be open. So this incredibly smart and, dare I say, ballsy individual, a bit of a misnomer because I think it's a woman who owned the place. She decided to brand her business as being part of the TV and motion picture industry, and she was videotaping haircuts and selling it as a service where you were going in to do a demo tape, an audition tape. Come and get an audition tape while you get your haircut, and that will be part of your audition. And what drove me nuts is I was, God bless you, God love you. When things are insane, what are you supposed to do? And what drove me crazy was the number of people who said, "Oh, shut her down, shut her down. Oh, she's going to kill my grandma." Please. And now here we are a year later. There are people meeting in Ottawa again. I just watched a little clip on Global News. One of the individuals, and it's the exact same name, but he's wearing a toque and a pair of sunglasses. So I can't verify if it was Jack. I think it might be my friend Jack from up in that area who had been going down pretty much every day, and again sharing videos of it. And so they're saying that it's a much smaller contingent that are there now. They're saying that the downtown core has been blocked off, so everyone is having to walk in, that it's being billed as a dance party. And there are still protests going on, but it doesn't have that same galvanized feel that Ottawa had last year, where it seemed like everyone came together. And now what I find is there's a rally coming up in Toronto. I've heard about the fruit, this is a kind of a blanket term that everyone uses who's opposed to this great reset, false industrial evolution agenda, is we're freedom fighters. But the thing is, everyone has their individual focus, and there's no catalyst anymore. I mean, there are still individuals in this country who are being denied the right to work in their chosen profession because they've refused the jab. And that should be an issue for everyone. There are individuals still forced to wear masks in places, and that should be a concern for everyone. There are still restrictions on, internationally. A Canadian cannot travel into the United States, certainly not by air. And from what I understand, it's somewhat, everyone I've talked to, people with I've got first and second-hand accounts that I deem reasonably reliable, that it's very much hit and miss if you're going across a land border, driving across. I notice I have a couple people watching. If you want to chime in, I'd love to know what you did what you were doing during the convoy. As I say, I was on the overpass waving a Canadian flag and a sign, the no more lockdown sign. That's all. I wish I had gone down. To me, in a manner, it's almost like 1972 when the Canada-Russia Summit Series happened, which I was alive for, but I was living in Glen Rock, New Jersey as an expatriate Canadian. So, and hockey in New Jersey in the 1970s, a little more popular than hockey in Cuba now. So What now? Will there be another catalyst like this? I genuinely don't know, but obviously, I don't. My time machine broke, and I cracked my magic 8 ball, but I can't see it. I don't see the authorities allowing. The divide and conquer strategy is so much better, and they'd worked in that fashion. It's just when they hit the truckers, COVID, when they hit the truckers and slammed down on them, that was the proverbial straw, and everyone gravitated toward the truckers. And I'd invite you, if you want to get a feeling of what it was like. I tried to find, there's another video I like. There's a song called I Am, I am Canadian. And it's a bit of a, heart, heavy rock and roll song. Kind of like We're Not Going to Take It. And showing the convoy protest and the truckers rolling in. I mean, the trucks became so emblematic. It was a honk honk. Became such a focus. And will we see that again? Because there's going to be a protest sometime in the coming week or two in Toronto at Queen's Park. But you're going to have one group of individuals who are going to be fighting for they're there because their industry still requires the jab, and they're fighting against that. There are going to be other individuals who are want to push back against the 15-minute city, against the move toward a cashless society. There'll be hunters there who want to protect their right to own hunting rifles. There's going to be people there talking about food security, about we're going to have all these different issues. There isn't that unifying catalyst, that unifying to pull everyone together, because you'll remember that in Ottawa it became, the rallying cry was end all mandates now, all mandates. But the umbrella under which that all fell was thanks to the truckers. So if you're a trucker and you're watching this, and I don't care if you're black, if you're white, if you're sick, if you're gay, if you're straight, if you're from the East Coast, West Coast, North, Southern Ontario, God love you. Thank you. You gave myself and countless hundreds of thousands of Canadians at least hope at a dark, dark, dark time. And while the things are not as bad as they were back then, there's that old poem that was written by a German cleric in after World War II. And this cleric had initially supported the Nazis, and he wrote a poem afterwards, after the war had ended. And the poem went something like this. Pretty close. There are variations. Obviously, it was first written in German. First, they went after the communists, but I wasn't a communist, so I didn't speak out. Then they went after the socialists, but I wasn't a socialist, so I didn't speak out. Then they went after the trade unionists, but I wasn't a trade unionist, so I didn't speak out. Then they went after the Jews, but I wasn't Jewish, so I didn't speak out. And then they came after me, and there was nobody left to speak out. Wish I could remember the name. Having the name of the gentleman, I think he's a Lutheran priest or something, or maybe a Catholic priest, doesn't matter, who wrote that. But regardless, it's a famous poem, and that's kind of the situation we're in now. First, they closed all the small businesses, but I didn't own or work at a small business, so I didn't speak out. Then they closed all the schools, but I didn't have any kids going to school, so I didn't speak out. Then they closed all the churches, but I didn't go to church, so I didn't speak out. And it's this incremental creep imposing on, one group, and then another group, and then another group, and then another group. And we found the trucking industry, the men and women who drive our trucks and keep our shelves loaded. Again, God love you guys. God bless you guys for what you did. You gave everyone an umbrella to gather under together. And it'd be nice to see that kind of, because this agenda is still rolling. I'll end it off with an interesting little bit that I just shared. The bivalent boosters became available, and I may be wrong on the specific date, but I think it was sometime in September or October, 3-4 months ago. This bivalent booster became available, and public health authorities, I'm not offering medical advice, and I'm not 100% sure I have their advice correct, but so you can check on this. This is where my disclaimer comes in. But I believe that anyone who is 6 months removed from their last booster shot is strongly recommended to get this bivalent shot. It's not mandated, it's not required, strongly recommended. Get up to date on your boosters. And according to Ontario Public Health, I should have included a link, but you can find it yourself. Just type Ontario booster uptake, and you'll find the information from Ontario Public Health. Less than 25% of the people in Ontario aged 5 and up, less than 25% have had a shot within the last 6 months. So that means less than 25% have had this bivalent booster, which is being strongly urged, advocated, recommended by public health officials. And I think that's a very telling statistic, and it suggests to me that we're winning. However, where the rubber hits the road, where we find out how reticent, how opposed people are genuinely to getting it, is if they mandate it. Will they mandate it? And in an earlier video, I put out my prediction, and I'm sticking to it. I mean, it runs out at the end of the year, but I said before 2023 rolls into 2024, I expect that there will be a return to mandates, that there will be a return to mandated shots. And it might be this bivalent booster, or from what I understand, they're working on, and who knows, maybe it's already ready. They're working on a shot that will combine a booster, bivalent or whatever, with the flu shot. And will that be mandated? My suspicion, if I had to put money down, I would say, yeah, it probably will. I notice I do have 2 people watching, probably bots, probably community standards people. Or if it's 986D or Amina, or, there are a few others, Hot Mess Mom, Dark. I had one a week or so ago, a video that was just amazing. I love the interaction. Sad no one's chiming in right now, but I've gone on for 30 odd minutes. So remember the convoy, and hopefully we can keep that spirit going, and hopefully at some point we can rally again and keep pushing back, because even though things are calm right now, or calmer, I don't think 15-minute city, cashless society, gun control, the war in Ukraine, we've got questions of food security, and there's very much, I think, the potential that we could see shots mandated again sometime in the future before 2023 ends. So God bless. Thank you for watching. No, that's not a, I'm, I mean, it's so funny nowadays. I play basketball. When you shoot a 3-pointer, the referees go like this, indicating 3. But apparently now, simple little gestures, like all manner of them, you're almost afraid. What do you do with your hands? Just sit on your hands, because you're afraid of making some gesture and you'll get screen captured. And this guy's part of, he's a member of the Freemasons, or like, to me that means okay. And but to others it means a sign of the beast, 666. Others it means white power somehow. I think this is the W and this is the P. To me it just means okay. So I'll try and remember not to use it next time. Anyway, again, as always, God bless and thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. If you didn't want to comment live, but if you want to throw down some thoughts about the convoy, love to read them. Talk to you later.